Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to another tutorial. Like you've already seen from the title and thumbnail, in this video I'll be showing you guys how I made this beautiful simple summer top. You can add this top to your summer wardrobe. I think you can even wear this during the fall winter when the weather changes. It's super simple, so let's get right into the video. So I did use a medium weight yarn for this project, and I also used a total of 300 gram. So depending on the size you're making, you need more or less. My size is a size medium to large, and I also did use a little touch of brown, which is probably going to be about 50 gram. You really don't need that much for the edge and the neckline. And I did use a 3mm for the entire project. So let's get right into it. So to get started, you're going to make a slip knot, and after making a slip knot, you're just going to chain 60. I chained 60 for my size and for the length. So 60 is basically going to be the length of the top. So I would suggest you take your measurement from your shoulders up to where you want the top to end. So in my case, my top is I think 12 inches long, but again, depending on how long you want yours to be, you can make this shorter or even longer depending on what you want. So you're basically just going to make a chain that is as long as the actual length you want for your top. So after you get your desired length, you're going to go ahead and chain an extra one, and you're going to go into the second chain from the crochet hook with your first half double crochet. So we're basically using half double crochet for the entire project. So I'm just basically going to continue with one half double crochet in every chain until I get to the very end. So again, I chained a total of 60 plus the extra one. So at the end of this first row, I should have a total of 60 half double crochet. And of course, this is different if you're making a different length. So I'm just basically going to continue with one half double crochet until I get to the very end of the chain, and I'll see you guys at the end of this row. So coming to the end of row 1, I'm just making sure I add one double crochet at every chain because I want to make sure I have the same amount, 60 half double crochet. So to get started with row 2, I'm going to chain 1, and right into the back loop I'm going to go with half double crochet. So remember, we are going to work in the back loop only of each row, so we can actually add stretch to the top. So you're basically going to continue with one half double crochet in the back loop only for the entire row 2. So you want to make sure you don't skip any half double crochet from the previous row because we are not decreasing and we are not increasing. So one half double crochet until you get to the very end, and I'll see you guys at the end. So at the end of row 2, I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and I'm going to repeat the same row 2 again for row 3. So I'm going to go into that first half double crochet with a half double crochet in the back loop, and I'm going to continue this until the very end. So I did a total of 5 rows for this pattern with no increase and no decrease because we are going to start increasing for the neckline. So if you're making a size small, extra small, then a 5 is perfect, and if you're making a medium and large like I am, a 5 is also perfect. But if you're making a size bigger, then I'll suggest you add 2 rows to the 5 rows. So in case you're making a size extra large to 2 times extra large, then I'll suggest you make 7 rows of half double crochet with no increase and no decrease before we start increasing for the neckline. So I'm going to get my 5 rows complete, and then I'll come back and show you guys how we are going to go about increasing for the neckline. So right here I have my 5 rows complete, and again, if you're making a size extra large, then you have 7, and if you're making an extra small and my size, then you have 5. So you're going to chain 1 like as usual. So in the first half double crochet, we are going to do the first increase. So you're going to go right into that first half double crochet with 2 half double crochet in this case, and right after that you're going to go into every half double crochet with 1 till you get to the very end. So we are only increasing on that first stitch, and we are not increasing again until we get to the next row. So you want to make sure you're increasing on one side of the panel and not both sides, because one side is going to be the neckline while the other one is going to be the edge of the top, and we do not need to increase on the edge of the top. So right here I'm just basically doing one half double crochet in the back loop until I get to the very end of my row 6. So after row 6, I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and we are going to go back with half double crochet in the back loop. So I'm basically going to go ahead and do 1 half double crochet until I get to the very top, where I'm going to go ahead and increase again for the second time. So right there, 1 half double crochet until you get to the top, and I'll see you guys at the top. So coming to the very top of the stitch, right there I have my last stitch. You want to make sure you are adding your last, because remember we did increase. You don't want to skip any stitch. Make sure you're going into every stitch. So right there I'm going to go with that into that last stitch with 2 half double crochet, because again we are going to increase for the second time. So again, you can already see how the panel is, the neckline is actually forming. So you're going to chain 1 and turn, and you're going to increase again for the third time into that first half double crochet with 2 half double crochets, and from there on you're just going to continue with 1 half double crochet in every stitch until you get to the very end of this row. And this is basically what I'm going to repeat. Again, like I mentioned, you want to make sure you're increasing just on one side of the panel and not both sides, because the neckline is the only thing that needs increasing. So I did a total of 10 rows for my size. If you're making an extra small to small, then 8 row is perfect. 8 row is perfect. If you're making a large, my size medium to large, then 10. And if you're making a size bigger, then I'll suggest you add 2 rows to it. So right here I have my increase row complete. So from here on, I'm just basically going to continue to do 1 half double crochet row in the back loop with no increase and no decrease. So again, I forgot to mention earlier, but the panel is basically worked in 4 different steps. So again, the front and the back panel are actually the same. The only thing is we started working at the center, from the center of the panel to 1 shoulders, and afterwards we are going to attach the yarn to the beginning of the panel and start working the rest of the same pattern that we did on the opposite side. So that is going to complete 1 panel. I hope you guys understand. So after my increase row, I have a total of 15 rows. So what I'm going to do from here on is I'm going to continue with half double crochet row, but this time around with no increase and no decrease, for a total of 18 rows. Again, this is a size medium to large, so if you're making a size extra to small, you're definitely going to need less rows, and I would suggest you do 12 rows instead of 18 rows like I did if you're making a size smaller. And if you're making a size bigger, then 24 rows will be fine. Again, I'll show you guys along the way on how you can go about taking the measurement just to make sure you have the exact size, because these are just my calculations that I made for the different sizes. You don't have to stick to them. So right here you can see that I have the panel complete. One side of the panel, like I said, the panel is worked in 2 different sides to get 1 panel complete. So right there you can see that the one side is 12 inches. So from there on, I'm going to attach the yarn to the beginning of the panel, and we are going to repeat the same process. The only thing is we are not going to do the first 5 rows again, because we already have that done. We are just going to start increasing like we did. So again, remember I did a total of 10 increase rows. So depending on the size, you're just going to attach your yarn to the opposite side and start increasing again for the opposite part of the panel. So right here I have my panel complete. Again, you can see that the stitches are balanced. So again, I attached the yarn on the opposite side, and then I did my 10 rows of increase and then my 18 rows of no increase. So you can see that it's balanced, and you can see that the stitch at the middle, that shows that that's where we started with the chain. So you're going to repeat the same process for the opposite panel. So again, the back and the front panel are exactly the same thing. So I'm going to get that done, then I'll come back and show you guys so we can attach everything together. So after you have both panels complete, you're going to go ahead and lay them flat, because you're going to start single crocheting and attaching both of them together. So for this is basically simple. What you do for the shoulder, because remember where we stopped increasing, right there you can see that's where the neckline stops. So you're just going to go ahead and single crochet that side together. And for the armhole, you're also going to go ahead and take your armhole measurement, and you can also just put this on and just see how wide you want your armhole to be. Mine, in my case, is 7 inches. And also keep in mind that the half double crochet makes the pattern, the panels, very stretchy. So you're going to grab your measurement tape and just going to take the measurement. Usually you divide the measurement, your armhole measurement, by 2. So right here you can see mine is 7. I'm just taking the measurement and I want to mark that area, because then I'm going to start single crocheting from that point all the way to the end, because I want to leave an opening for the sleeve for my armhole in this case. So right there I'm just going to go ahead and attach my yarn, and I'm going to start single crocheting both of the panels together until I get to the very end. So after making a secure knot, you're just going to grab one stitch after the other. You want to make sure that the both panels are actually straight, because you don't want them to be uneven. So right there you're just seeing me grabbing one stitch and making sure I take the next stitch from the next panel and single crochet those two together. You can also use a needle, or you can use slip stitch for this, but I am used to using single crochet because it works perfectly for me. So I'm just going to continue to single crochet both of the panels until I get to the very end of this, and I'm going to repeat the same thing on the opposite side and the shoulders as well. So again, like I said, for the shoulders you want to make sure that you start single crocheting both of the shoulders together right after your increase row. So right there you can see the difference between the increase row and the remaining rows with no increasing. So you're going to make sure you single crochet those remaining rows together instead of single crocheting the increase row, because the increase row is supposed to be the neckline. So after single crocheting the 4 sides of your panels together, you're going to go ahead and turn it over, because we are going to go ahead and add a little rib to the neck. So basically what I did for the rib pattern was I chained a total of 7, and then I went back into the chain with half double crochet. And to know how many rows you basically need for that ribbed pattern for the neckline, what I did was I counted the rows along the neckline. So again, you can just easily count the rows that you actually left an opening. So the increase row and the 5 rows that we did before increasing, you're just going to count the rows around the neckline to determine how many rows you would need to do for the rib panel for the neckline. I hope you guys understand what I mean, but you'll see that in the next clip. So right here you can see my rib is complete. This is definitely optional. I feel like you can even leave the top like that, but I feel like this actually adds more niceness and volume to the actual top, and this is what I had in mind. Again, I did a total of 7 chains, and then I went back with half double crochet row like we did for the other panel in the back loop. So again, depending on how long you want yours to be, you can even go shorter. I think mine was at this point 1.5 inches. You can even make this 1 inches. I would suggest you actually make this 1 inches, because I kind of want to go back and change mine to 1 inches, because I think mine is a little bit too long. Again, you can see this is what I mean by I went back and counted how many rows that is actually along the neckline to decide how many rows I need to make for this ripped neck band. I hope you guys understand. So you want to make sure you have the same amount of rows, because again, you did use the same amount of stitch, the same number of stitch, and then you use the same yarn. So having the same amount of rows is going to make it easy for you to attach this to the panel. So to attach the rib first, I'm going to go ahead and attach both of the ends together so I can have a circle. So right there, I'm just using the remaining yarn that I still have attached to the rib just to single crochet both ends together. Again, you can use a slip stitch or a needle. So you're just going to attach both ends together, and before we can actually attach it to the panel itself. So after attaching, you're going to go ahead and just turn the rib, because again you want to make sure the seam is going to be inwards, so when you attach it to the panel it's not going to be outwards, because that's not what you're going for. So right here I'm just going to make sure I sew in that loose end before I start attaching this to the panel itself. So right there you can see the seam is going to be inwards, and you want to make sure you keep that inwards. So to attach the rib to the neckline, it's going to be, I don't know how I can explain this, but I hope you guys can actually understand from seeing what I'm doing. So again, the top is still on the right side. I did not turn the top on the wrong side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the rib to the wrong side, so when I attach this at the end, it's going to be inside. So you want to make sure the seam is outside like that. And what I did is I made sure that I actually attached the seam at the back of the panel. Again, the front and the back panel are actually the same. This is what is going to determine what is going to be the front and what is going to be the back of the top. So you want to make sure that seam area is at the center of the panel and not on the side, because that is going to actually differentiate between the front and the back panel when the top is complete. So right there I'm just going to make a secure knot, and from there on I'm just going to start single crocheting the rib to the panel all around until I get to the very end. Again, there is really no easy way for me to explain this. I'm going to stop talking and just let you see what I'm doing. I'm sure you're going to understand way more than me explaining. So I'll also suggest that you keep checking if the ribbed pattern is actually balanced well, because you don't want to end up with a big gap. That's the reason why I suggested you count how many rows were actually in between the neckline, so you can have the same amount. So you want to make sure that you're evenly single crocheting the ribbed around the neckline. So again, there is no way for me to explain this. You just have to take your time and go all around and evenly just single crochet everything together. So I'm going to get mine done, and then I'll come back and show you guys the final touch of the top. So this is how it actually came out when I single crocheted the rib to the panel, and I actually love the way it came out. Again, this is why I suggested you can maybe make this a little shorter, but if you want to go for the same length like I did, that's also fine. So you can see the seam is inwards. You want to make sure the seam is inwards. So now I'm going to show you guys how you can go ahead and achieve the goal on this neckline. So for this part, you're just going to grab any yarn of your choice. I am going for this brown. I don't know why I called it gold, but I'm going for this light brown color, and I'm just going to go ahead and single crochet around the neckline. That's the same thing I did around the armpit hole as well. So right there I'm going to attach my yarn to the back of the panel, and I'm going to just go all around the panel with single crochet. You want to make sure you don't overdo too many single crochets, but you also want to make sure you do enough so you don't have a lot of space around it, which you would see very soon. So you want to go ahead and make a secure knot attach your yarn with a secure knot, and you're going to go all around that neckline with single crochets. So after your first single crochet row, coming to the end, I'm going to go right on top of the previous row with single crochets, but this time around I'm going to go into the back loop. So again, right on top of that previous row, I'm going to go right into that first stitch, into the back loop with one single crochet, and I'm going to repeat one single crochet until the very end. I did a total of 3 rows for this. So at the end of row 3, I just went ahead and cut off the yarn and I sew in all the loose end. So you're going to repeat this on both sides of the armpit hole and at the edge of the top, which I'm going to show you guys in the next clip. So there is a slight difference to the edge of the top from what we did at the neckline and at the armpit hole. So for the edge of the top, the first row, you're going to chain 1 and you're going to do 1 single crochet in every space available. So just the same thing we did for the sleeve, for the armpit hole and for the neckline, you're going to do that at the first row. The only difference is we are going to shrink the top a little bit, so we are going to decrease after the first row. So go ahead and do 1 single crochet in every space available, and then I'll see you guys when I have that complete. So after the first row, I'm going to go right above the second row with my next row, and this is where we are going to decrease. So the decrease pattern I used is 2 single crochets into the first 2 and single crochet, and into the third I'm going to skip and go into the next stitch. So right there you can see 2, and then I'm skipping the next one, and then another 2 single crochet, and I'm skipping the third one, another 2, and then I'm skipping the other one, just so we can have the waist to fit around the waist. You don't want it to be too tight because then it will be difficult for you to get into the top. You just want to do just a slight increase so it can actually fit around the waist a little. So again, I'm just going to do 2 single crochet, skip 1 stitch, and then 2 single crochet all around until I get to the very end. And at the end, for the last row, which is the third row, I'm just going to go ahead and do 1 single crochet in every stitch, just so we can actually even everything and end off the top. And at the end of row 3, you're just going to cut off your yarn, sew in all the loose end, and because at this point it's complete, the only thing left is the strings at the 2 sides. Again, that is optional. You really don't have to do that if you don't want to. So I'm just going to sew in all the loose end and start cutting every extra yarn that I have lying around the top, because at this point we are almost complete. So I'm going to get those done, and then I'll come back and show you guys how you can actually attach or make the string in case you want to make one as well. So for the string, I'm going to do that on the 2 opposite sides. So right there, I'm just going to attach my yarn, and I did have like leftover yarn that I had to take off from my old project. So hopefully you have enough yarn for this. So right there, I'm just going to make a long, take off a long amount of yarn, because again I'm going to do a double chain. I don't want to do an after crochet in this case. I just want to make a chain that is thick enough. So right there you're seeing me grabbing 2 string of yarn. So I'm going to insert the 2 string of yarn, and I'm just going to make chain as long as I want it to be. You're basically going to make chains with 2 strings of yarn on each side of the panel. That is basically it. Very simple. You can also do a double crochet or half double crochet. So attach your yarn, make a long chain, and then go back into the chain with half double crochet. But again, I think making a double yarn chain, just it's thick enough. You don't have to go back into it. I think it's the easiest way for you to have a thick string. So you're just going to go ahead and make a long chain and repeat the same thing on the opposite side of the top, and at this point your top is complete. So this is it for this tutorial. I really hope this was helpful to you and you enjoyed making this as much as I enjoyed filming it for you all. Let me know if you have any questions at all and I'll make time to answer your questions. And if you did enjoy this and this was helpful, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. Share this to someone who crochets as well. Just like and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Thank you so much and I'll see you guys in another video. Bye bye.